What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Mr. Mustache MMA News. Today, I want to discuss last night's fight night, Usman, Buckley. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly and to help the channel grow. All right, guys, getting right into it from top to bottom, we're going to be discussing the entire main card and prelims of last night's Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley card. So let's get right into it from the top. Usman turns back the clock, defeating Joaquin Buckley by decision, winning 4 rounds out of 5. Now, I know one judge gave him 3, but, I mean, let's be real here. He won 4 of those 5 rounds. With the last round, Buckley was able to finally make the adjustments that he was so much struggling to make throughout the first 4 rounds of that fight, and stuff at takedowns, landing devastating offense, had Usman on his back foot in that 5th round, but too little too late, right? Usman went out there, and like, hindsight's 2020 for everything, right? And my prediction swayed massively once I realized how fucking big Usman is. Like, you would honestly think that he was the guy coming down from middleweight. Now, I know he had the fight with Hamzat, but I'm saying, like, Buckley has had more of the longevity at middleweight than Usman had with his one fight, right? So you would think that Usman was the guy coming down from middleweight. And Buckley looked way smaller at the weigh-ins. And the second I saw that, I was like, ooh. I actually think, because he just looked big. He looked big. He looked like he was in great shape. And he didn't waste any time going into the fight, getting the fight to the ground within like 45 seconds. Made Buckley pay right away, got that cut in the first round. Let him know, like, hey, this is going to be a fucking tough night for you. And stuck to his game plan, utilized relentless pressure and takedowns, and Buckley just really didn't have an answer for it. He was just not able to lower his posture and get that leverage for those takedowns. He wanted, first he was hesitant because he knew the takedowns were coming. Once it happened so fast, too, in that first round, it stifled his offense. So then he started to hesitate, not believe in himself. He wasn't getting the leverage that he needed to defend the takedowns. And then finally, going into that 5th round, his coaches told him, hey, you need to get lower on your stance for these takedowns. And he did, and he was able to stuff them. So it was impressive to see Joaquin Buckley stay in the fight, make adjustments late in the fight, and even find success later on. But also to see, I think also, it was also more impressive to see Usman, the former champion, being on such a losing streak, 38 years old, being away from the octagon, and looked like he had never left. Fooled everybody. Not fooled everybody, but proved, like, a lot of the naysayers, myself, like, wrong, and just showed, like, hey, he's here to stay, at least momentarily. Put himself right back into the mix. I forgot who it was that he called out. I know that he completely dismissed Bilal Muhammad, but I want to see that fight. I want to see Usman versus Bilal. I think that makes the most sense. But I forgot who it was. Was it Shavkat that he called out? I wasn't sure. I don't remember. But, man, one of those good main events that both guys look good in victory and defeat. Like, Buckley went out there, tested himself against a world champion on a massive win streak. Yeah, he got dominated for the first 20 minutes, but showed heart, showed resilience, the ability to make adjustments. It was a good main event. Now, to say for the rest of the card, can't really say that, This was one of the worst cards, which is kind of funny, because I don't even like hating on the UFC. I hate to be negative on these things. A lot of the cards, too, that a lot of the fans have been hating on this year, I've enjoyed. Most of the cards. I think it's been a good year so far. But this one, as stacked as it was, with all the expectations with some of the prospects, which is something we'll get into a little bit later, too, didn't show out. It was one of the most boring, nothing really happened events aside from Malcolm Wellmaker, who we'll be talking about a little later in this video. But it just did not show up as to expectations. There was just nothing, there was just no highlights aside from the main event and, 1 or 2 performances. But, going into this next fight with Rose Namajunas, defeating Miranda Maverick, again, like, she went out there and outclassed Miranda, looked good on the feet, but I know Miranda has a good ability of stifling the offense and the ability of some of her opponents so that they don't look as good in victory, even when they do beat her. But it's just, like, all right, she got her hand raised and did what she needed to do to get herself back on the winning track. But Rose didn't make any statement-making performance. And I still feel like in victory, she didn't really gain any traction. She didn't really get anywhere into the division. And I think with Miranda as well, I think that, I don't know, yeah, she just, I don't know. It's just like this whole thing that, like, just in post-fight, I don't even really care about most of it. Like, not much really happened. Rose got her hand raised. Moving on to the next fight. And I don't even know who she's going to fight next. Are we going to put Rose and Macy Barber finally? Miranda Maverick too, like, had an opportunity and just couldn't really get anything going against a world champion, though, for a former world champion. So I don't want to shit on that too much, but just a boring co-main event. Next up, Edmen Shahbazyan defeats Andre Petroski in a fight where he did what he should have done and went out there and fought tall, long, sharp, bladed. Andre showed grit, but you could just tell that there was just such a difference in the level of striking and distance control. And Edmen was just a step ahead, faster, sharper, longer, right? What he does well. Andre, he just wasn't able to just control. He wasn't able to do what he does the best, right? So it was good to see Edmen go out there and get a victory. It just wasn't anything decisive, but right now I don't think he needs anything too decisive because that's going to push him right back against these guys. I think he needs to take his time again. I think he's only 27 years old. Edmen's got time. Now he's got himself on a little bit of a streak. I think it's 2 or 3 now. I don't want to make any predictions for fights, especially with where he's at. He's not ranked or anything. I don't think you should put him against anybody ranked yet either. I think Edmen's one of those guys, he's going to age like fine wine. I think at 32, 33 years old, we're going to be talking about Edmen Shahbazyan as a contender. But he's still at 27. And it's crazy how much experience he's had on the job as well. So I think this victory is only, I think it was good for him experience-wise. And to handle a guy like Andre, because his skill set is something that Edmen has struggled against throughout his career. So it was good to see him kind of go out there and get the 15 minutes, right? And not gas out and kind of build that confidence. And as for Andre, fought a tough guy, tough up-and-coming prospect. 34 years old, though, so I don't think we're going to see Andre Petroski chasing any titles. But what I do think is that there's still plenty of fun matchups for him. And I think that we could still see another 3 years of Andre going out there and competing within the UFC. I really do. He looked a little deterred and dejected. I thought he was about to take his gloves off in that fight, after the fight. But he didn't. And I hope not, right? God, this coffee's hitting like a fucking 8-ball. Next up, Raoni Barcelos defeats Cody Garbrandt. I got no energy for this. I don't even want to do it. It's 8 p.m. and I'm on like my 4th cup of coffee, and I'm like, I still got nothing going. Got nothing going. Love it when it gets in the mustache. Get that little extra flavor. Anyways, Raoni Barcelos defeats Cody Garbrandt in a fight where people have talked about retirement for Cody. I don't think so. I don't think he took damage in that fight. Yeah, he got outclassed by a tough opponent, a well-rounded opponent. Barcelos, I think, at 37, 38, still a dangerous guy. He has a really good ability of, especially guys who strike, who want to strike, has a good ability of taking a lot of that danger away with his threat of the grappling, right? And his top control. Good submissions, but also, like, what his threat to the takedowns and his grappling opens up to striking. And you saw him hitting Cody with knees and overhands and rights and uppercuts. He was catching Cody. And looked, honestly, did not seem like the moment was too much for him. Just a gritty pit bull out there. Just had to make it dirty to go out there and get the victory, because Cody was fast, sharp, even stunned Barcelos a few times, just was too hesitant out there. I feel like he was thinking too much, trying to make something happen a little too much. And I feel like anytime he landed a good punch, he did some like weird showboating Cody Garbrandt thing, and it was like, you landed one punch, go follow it up. And I think you saw him almost like an adrenaline dump from trying to make too much happen. That's kind of what I saw. I saw him just kind of gas out there. But he was also stuffing a lot of takedowns. Cody did really well in the grappling department early on in that fight. In that first round, I thought Cody did very well. But I thought as rounds 2 and 3 went on, you saw his gas tank kind of dwindle a little bit. He was a little bit more hesitant, a little bit less explosive. And you saw Barcelos kind of take advantage of him in a lot of those situations and earned himself a hard-fought victory. But for Cody, I like to see him compete still. He's 33. He's coming off a loss with Figgy, where he didn't take a lot of damage. He got subbed. And then here in the fight with Barcelos, where he didn't take a lot of damage, still looked okay. And listen, maybe we're not going to see a title reign of Cody Garbrandt anymore. Like, not everybody has to be a world champion to go out there and still compete at the highest of levels. And I think that we could still see Cody go out there and fight. Is he going to get the Sean O'Malley fight like he wanted? No. I don't think that's ever going to happen at this point. I don't think so. I mean, unless O'Malley loses 2 more in a row this year, I mean, like, that's, I think, would have to happen more than, like, Cody going on a win streak, right? Because I think Sean has too much to lose if he were to fight Cody no matter what stage, if Sean is still at a high standard in the division. I just don't see Sean taking that fight unless he's on his own losing streak. But yeah, no, I'd like to see Cody compete still. Next up, Mansour Abdul Malik defeated Cody Brundage. The technical decision, that's right. So, okay. This is where I don't understand all the time, where we have these odds that are so high. And like in the differentials, right? You had Mansour, who was a massive favorite over Cody Brundage. And you had the other guy, Omar Sy, massive favorite over Alonzo Menafield. And then you had, well, Wellmaker made sense. That one fully made sense. But I think in MMA, so much can happen that these odds, they don't always, like, it's just, when I saw that, I was like, oh, well, you should totally bet on the other guy. Because this is MMA. Like, so much can happen. And especially at this level, these guys really are that good. And to see these prospects, okay, they haven't had anybody test them yet. They haven't had anybody at their level yet. And when you saw them reach adversity, you saw them crumble a little bit. Now, Abdul Malik was able to get the technical decision. He looked good early on. But Cody, going, what was it, at the end of the second or into that third round, like, made it dirty and made it interesting, and he was clipping him. He was sharper, and it seemed like things were about to get very fucking interesting until that head clash. Totally accidental, and it is what it is. I think it was, with them being into the third round, at that point, it made sense for it to go to a technical decision, and at that point, you score the fight as is, right? That makes total sense. I think it should be a 2-minute, 30-second mark and on from the second round. If anything fishy happens, you score the fight, the 2 rounds, right? I think that's how it should be, in my opinion. I don't know if that is the actual rule or not, but I think that's how it should be. But in that fight, I think all it did was give experience towards Mansour in that fight. He had somebody who was going to give him a tough battle, test him. He's going to have to go out there and make adjustments now in his training camp. He made a prospect error with that headbutt. It was unintentional, but it was something that could have been avoided. It was just like a sloppy, explosive exchange that led to that. And then you have Cody, who, my God, cannot get out of his own way. Like, not get out of his own way. This guy, a lot like Sam Alvey, he's like full of controversy with almost all of his fights. There's always some weird bad juju going on with Cody Brundage. I don't know what the fuck. And the guy can't catch a break. And I thought, honestly, showed heart against, back against the wall, an underdog against the guy who's making, like, I don't know, I don't think it was his debut. It might have been his debut, but a guy who was highly regarded prospect and was able to go out there and make it dirty, make it grindy, make it tough. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Do they run it back? I'm all for it when fights end like that. If they run it back, I'm all for it, because I don't think either guy gained or lost traction in that matchup. Next up, that's right, Menafield defeated Omar Sy, unanimous decision in one of the biggest upsets of the night. And I didn't think so. Now, Menafield doesn't always get his hand raised, but he's competitive. The fight with Jimmy Crute, I think, showed when he started his UFC career, he was definitely green, had a lot of holes, he was raw. But I feel like he's really gone out there and has become this little mini powerhouse of the light heavyweight division. He's like the gold standard of what the number 15 in the world would be, right? He's really is like this good gatekeeper of, like, if you get past Menafield, it's off to the races for you. You get past that guy. If you were able to finish that guy, we have high expectations for what is next. And Menafield showed, like, hey, that's why I was shocked when I saw the odds on this fight. And Sy, who had a good track record, up and coming, a lot of hype, but Menafield is a very dangerous, explosive fighter. And he was able to go out there and show his experience. He was able to straighten out his punches over Omar's looping, overreaching shots. Explosive, but they weren't the smartest punch. There's no setup. And Menafield was able to slow the fight down and catch him coming in a lot of exchanges. And when Sy wasn't able to get the job done, you saw the veteran, savvy experience of Menafield take over in that fight, and just showed, like, hey, welcome, this is the UFC, welcome to the UFC, this is the gold standard. And Menafield was like, hold my fucking beer. So great performance by Menafield to open up the main card against a guy like Sy. Back to the drawing board. I think guys like this in MMA, you need losses like this. This is how you grow, this is how you become better. And when you reach the big leagues, it's never going to be so easy. Next up, Paul Craig, Rodolfo Bellato. What controversy, right? So you had the no contest due to the illegal up kick on Bellato, where he looks at the, okay, so like they have the exchange on the ground. Craig hits Bellato with an up kick. Bellato is falling backwards after, it was flush, it hit him, right? It hit him. But he looks at the referee like, hey, I just got hit, and then goes unconscious, like within like half of a tenth of a second later. And then proceeds to jolt awake and then pretend to like not know who the referee is and like almost like pull guard in like a, and this is where, okay, it looked like he was acting for sure. It looked like one of the biggest flops in sports history. But then you have like the knockouts where like Shane Burgos, right, which was legitimate as fuck. I forgot, I think it was him and Edson Barbosa. One of the weirdest knockouts in history. Where sometimes when you get hit in the head, things don't act right. Things don't happen normally. It's your brain, you get hit in the head. Weird things can happen. You can react weirdly. But it was just the way that he looked at the referee before just immediately just flailing over and being unconscious. I don't know. But my bigger issue with it is that it was a no contest. Should have been a loss to Paul Craig. Because regardless of the fact of if the guy was flopping, it was an illegal front kick that stopped the fight. Legal up kick that stopped the fight. Now you're going to have fighters who are going to use that as a way to get out of a fight as a no contest, and it won't be a loss in the record. It's just, I don't know. It's a way out of the fight for future purposes. And I feel like it may have been unintentional, but it was one of those egregious penalties that you just have to, it sucks, right? You know, Paul probably didn't do it on purpose, but it still caused the end of the fight. And to avoid things like that happening in the future, I think that there needs to be a definitive result, like a loss. And I think it's just that simple. But as for the acting job of Bellato, I don't know, man. It's very sus, and I think where there's smoke, there's fire in life, so... Didn't look good. The whole thing was fucking cursed. I mean, the herpes. Paul Craig couldn't rip his shirt. Then this happened. And then, like, which was pretty... What was it? At the exact same time at Dirty Boxing, Sasha Palatnikov had the Phil Hawes fight. This was happening, like, at the exact same time on both my TVs. Phil Hawes had the 2 eye pokes on Sasha. And he had the disqualification win, which I thought was the right thing. I thought Phil Hawes... That was some of the, like, dude, I get it. It's called Dirty Boxing, but you can't take it to heart, dude. Like, it's the name of the promotion. Like, that, like, clear eye poke, and then against in the clinch, another clear eye poke to make Sasha uncomfortable. And, like, this is a case of self-sabotage. A lot of athletes, when they have their back against the wall and they have a lot of losses, they get desperate to try and get the result that they're looking for. It happens. It's just self-sabotage at its finest. So I think that also could have been what could have happened with Bellato at that moment, where he got embarrassed. He's like, this is my opportunity. I don't know. It was just weird. It was fishy to me. But I'm not the guy in there. But it was just weird. And the way that he acted was like, that was good acting. That would have been really good acting if that was the case. Not the initial, but, you know, when he actually pulled guard on the referee. Next up, Michael Chiesa defeated Court McGee, unanimous decision in a fight where, I mean, Chiesa just was taller, longer, sharper guy. You know, at times they nullified each other. Fans started to boo. There wasn't a lot of risk being taken within the fight. It almost kind of seemed like a glorified sparring match. But Chiesa was just... I think his striking was just the difference in that fight. He was just able to punish Court in ways that Court was not able to close the distance on him with his hands. And Chiesa just showed why he has had the longevity and success in his career like he has had. And Court, 40 years old, you know, like... As long as he's not going out there taking too much damage, you know, I guess it's okay. But Court's literally been in the UFC since I was, like, in 10th grade. Think about that. I'm 31 now. Yeah, kind of an uninspiring fight. Next up. Alright, so fight of the night for me. Malcolm Wellmaker knocks out Chris Moutinho in what was one of the most highly anticipated matches of the entire night. You had the comeback of Chris Moutinho, who had been, I think it was a 5-fight win streak outside the UFC since his original stint losing to Sean O'Malley and Guido Canetti. Came back with a lot of hype, but then also on short notice against the super rising prospect of Malcolm Wellmaker, undefeated prospect, right? Power like no other at 135 at bantamweight. So it was almost like this unfair thing for Chris. All right, you got your opportunity to come back, but here's a Malcolm Wellmaker. And it was like, Malcolm Wellmaker, here's your opportunity on short notice to take a really tough, grinding type of veteran fighter like Chris Moutinho who can make it a little bit difficult for some of these strikers. And Malcolm said, hold my motherfucking beer. Went out there and it was first round, right? Like almost like 2.5 minutes into the very first round, hit him with that fucking right hook that just put Moutinho face down, ass up. It was over. And the highlight knockout of the night, probably the single most, aside from probably the Cody Durden fight, which I'll be talking about here in a minute, but Malcolm Wellmaker, my word, what's next for him? I know that they were talking about Cody Garbrandt and everything like that. I like it. I think with Cody, with the loss that he just took with Barcelos, I think now you can use him to kind of go against his prospects. And I think the power and the fast boxing of Wellmaker, I think, would be a fireworks instant classic matchup against a guy like Cody Garbrandt. And for Chris Munho, give that boy one more fight in a full training camp, please. All short notice. Let the guy have a full training camp. Let him go out there and have an opportunity to really showcase his abilities against somebody. You know, this is the UFC, so don't give him an easy matchup, but just give him an opportunity to train correctly for a UFC fight. But man, what a fucking performance. Malcolm Wellmaker is one of these guys to watch, top prospects to watch 2025 for the bantamweight division. Next up, Jose Ochoa knocks out Cody Durden. I mean, what the fuck? Welcome to the UFC and Jose Ochoa. Went out there and he struggled a little bit with the pressure and the wrestling of Cody, but was able to get right back up to his feet after a couple minutes. And you saw Cody was zapped 3 minutes into the first round. And here's my thing. I get it, man. Like, you have adrenaline dumps, tough weight cuts, his style's grinding. But if that's your style, you need to be fully prepared for that. You cannot be gassing out in 3 minutes of your fight when that's exactly what you're, like, what you train to do. So I don't know if he's cutting too much weight for flyweight. Maybe his age is starting. I think he's about 34 now. I don't know what's going on. But with his style of fighting, you need to be able to go 15 minutes that way. Because that's what's getting him to the dance. And him not being able to find the full control success, we're now seeing him get clipped and knocked out. Joshua Van, Bruno Silva, and now we see Jose Ochoa. So we're seeing a bit of a pattern here with the blueprint on how to beat Cody Durden. And Cody's got to, like, maybe be more patient. You know, like, if you're gassing out in the first 3 minutes, maybe wait to the second round to throw one of those takedowns. Use your ability to maybe make your opponent tired in the first round. But it was just, it's hard to see somebody you know who's much better than what they're showing to be. And a guy for Jose Ochoa, what a knockout. Delivered right in the beginning of the second round. Just dropped Cody and that was it. It's fucking it. Beautiful knockout, beautiful performance. What's next for Ochoa? I'm not really sure. You know, guys at that level who are just rising, there's so many different matchups that you can make. So whatever they do next, especially with knocking out a guy like Cody Durden, maybe a Bruno Silva who just got the loss to Joshua Van. You have, like, a lot of times you have, like, these little mini tournaments within the division that kind of play out as they move along. But I thought Ochoa, he's definitely somebody to watch. In shape, young, power, one-shot knockout power. As for Durden, maybe go to bantamweight. I don't know. There's just, something's not right. And I don't know if it's age, weight cut, what have you, I don't know. But there's something not right going on with Cody Durden and his camp. Next up, Ricky Simone defeats Cameron Smotherman. He smothered Smotherman, you know, using typical relentless pressure of Ricky Simone, takedowns, wrestling, single legs, chain takedowns. Cameron at times, I think, just lacks confidence, belief in himself, hesitant, and just doesn't really, he lets the moment get to him, I think, a little bit too much. You know, it's fighting, it's tough, right? You're going in a fucking octagon and fighting another human being, but I think a guy like Cameron, they're giving him tough fights every single time too. Like, I mean, Ricky Simone, this is, yeah, a bottom of a prelim card, but he is, I mean, has been a staple of the bantamweight division for quite some time. And I mean, has had ups and downs, peaks and valleys throughout his career. He's always game. It just might not always be his night. And as for Cameron, he's probably going to get cut. I see that happening. He just hasn't really been able to show up under the bright lights when it's mattered most. And maybe he needs to go back down to the regional scene to just get that confidence back within himself. Next up, Phil Rowe knocks out Ange Lusa in a fight where Phil had to really just dig deep and stay patient, stick to his game plan. And after, taking a good beating in the first part of that fight, he was able to just turn it around and damage Lusa. And I mean, Phil Rowe is like your B- version of Randy Brown. They mirror each other. They're so similar in the way that they fight, tall, long, and lanky. They use it well. But with this victory, like, what are you gonna do? Like, I think Lusa was kind of already on his way out. Him going down to welterweight, though, I think was a good move. But I think, I don't know. They're good card fillers. Like, I don't want to disrespect them by calling them card fillers, but I think they're I don't know. Has Phil Rowe fought Reese McKee? I think that would be a good fight next. I think those two, if they haven't fought yet. Something tells me they fought, but I don't know. I'd like to see that next. But next, last but not least, is Jamie Horth. Jamie Lynn Horth defeated Vanessa Demopoulos. I mean, Jamie Lynn Horth went out there and showed good striking. Strong striking, dynamic striking, fast, fought long, made Vanessa pay throughout the fight. Several times you thought that she was going to get the finish, but Vanessa tough. Great chin, durability. She wanted to fight. She wanted to stay in there, so it was hard for Jamie to put her away in that fight. Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, shitty card. Shitty card. Nobody really made any statements aside from Malcolm Wellmaker and Jose Ochoa. Usman, right? But he should have. But a very, very forgettable fight night aside from those three fights, those three performances. I don't know. UFC seems to be headed for some dark days, but you know what? I'm here for it. It's my favorite fucking sport in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I love MMA, love the UFC, I love combat sports, dirty boxing, BKFC, PFL, all of it. Love it all. Craig Jones, love it all. Guys, sorry for the terrible energy today. Shitty fucking card. I did not care to talk about it whatsoever, but here I am. That's going to do it for today, guys. Love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section, but that's going to do it for today. Mr. Mustache, MMA news out. Let's fucking go, fight fans.